The producers would like to thank WFWM 91.9 and Frostburg State University for their generous cooperation in the production of this program. The producers encourage all listeners to support their local public radio station, WFWM 91.9, with financial support. No rebroadcast or transmission of this program is allowed without the written permission of Misfit Toys Industries.
This program is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. The Darklands.
They're right on us tonight, Inspector.
Seems like it. But don't worry. Aldgate Station is tough, like the Empire herself. Nazi bombs won't knock her down. Now, what's all this fuss about, then?
Oh, it's a gruesome thing, Inspector. A proper slaughter it is. I didn't want to start a panic, what with the bombing on it all.
Quite right. Morale is low enough already. What, this way, then?
Aye, Inspector. Mind the fence in there, just push it aside.
Was it always pushed aside this way?
I couldn't really tell you, Inspector. But with everyone coming up and down every night, it's been hard to keep track of what's changed and what ain't. No maintenance been done back here recently, that's all I can say.
Yes, all right. Well, where does this corridor lead?
It's a ventilation shed. Mainly controls for the air circulation systems and the like.
Or a quiet spot for a nap.
Inspector, I won't deny that some of the men on the lines use the sheds for all sorts of nasty business. But since I've been here, none of that nonsense in my station, sir.
Well, still, someone's been up to something naughty.
Aye, sir. Right through that door, Inspector.
Merciful heavens.
It's horrible. No one should be torn up like that.
Her throat's been cut open, and her abdomen, too, it looks like. I quite agree. Shine your torch over there. And you say you didn't touch anything?
Nay, just the door, Inspector. I can tell from all the blood the girl was dead.
Close the door, then. Take this notebook and write down what I say.
I didn't even really want to tell Scotland Yard, Inspector. From here, I could see she was a woman gents paid good money to do bad things with. Weren't sure she'd be missed, but, I mean, whatever or whoever did that, well, they gotta pay, Inspector.
Indeed. The victim has indeed had her throat cut quite deeply, almost halfway through. Serrated blade, judging from all the tearing, but it could just be rage. There's so much damage.
Who do you spell serrated?
Do your best. I'm sure I'll know what you mean. As for the cuts on the abdomen, they're lateral, across the body and leading downwards towards the groin.
Even for a fallen angel of the street ain't right, that.
Well, this particular fallen angel, as you put it, has one more surprising characteristic. She's not female.
What?
Yes. A transvestite prostitute, most likely. That narrows the suspect list down a bit. Not many places a girl like this could base out of.
Should I write that down, Inspector?
No, but thank you for staying attentive.
If someone were trying to get my attention, they managed it, that's for certain.
Well, I can't see much else in this light. Let's withdraw and alert the rest of Scotland Yard. Here, help me out of here.
Certainly, Inspector.
I must say, this is a police matter. You are not to comment on this in any way to anyone at any time. Interference these days carries the same sentence as sedition.
Oh, there's no worries there, Inspector. I will need a couple of pints just to forget what I've seen already. Oh, a fiver. Thank you, sir.
That's to make sure that you get your pints and that you remember to keep your mouth shut while drinking them.
Oh, point taken, Inspector. Right this way. Mind the pipes.
Ah, Chief Inspector. I'd hoped you might turn up after your meeting with the council.
Hard to squeeze in one more meeting in the day, that's the truth of it. So what's the urgency about this murder case of yours?
Oh, won't you sit down for a moment, Chief Inspector? It's a bit worrisome and, I'm afraid, a bit outlandish.
All right, then. Don't suppose you have tea?
Yes, sir. Please, have a seat. As you know, I'm currently investigating 2 murders found in the tubes. Both victims were stabbed repeatedly and with brutality I daren't even describe. In both cases, no witnesses and very little physical evidence left at either scene.
What do we know?
We know the attacker is the same person, a man, most likely, just a shade under 6 foot or so. He's left-handed and of medium weight in all probability. The victims share almost nothing in common. The first, Evan Woodard, made his living as a transvestite prostitute. He frequented several establishments near Aldgate Station where the body was found. The second victim, Anne Chapman, was found in the heat grating of Aldgate East Station. 43, married, and a chemist assistant from a shop near High Holborn, this victim suffered more extensive damage than the first. The killer opened her abdomen and extracted her intestines.
Mother of God!
In addition, the victim was found lacking a uterus.
Does anything link the crime scenes?
Nothing physical, no.
But something does, yes. Come on, Gavin, out with it.
Well, as I said, Chief Inspector, it's rather outlandish.
Nonsense. If you've got some new ideas, I need to hear them.
They're not exactly new, Chief Inspector. They're quite old, in fact. 52 years old, to be exact.
What are you trying not to say?
I keep rolling around the facts, and it keeps coming up to the same bad taste in my mouth, sir. The first victim, Woodard, she couldn't ply her trade as Evan Woodard on the street, so I learned something curious upon my inquiries. Evan Woodard went by the name Polly on the street and had something of a reputation amongst American sailors in particular. The other girls had taken to calling her Polly Nichols because she was such a cheap go.
I'm sure there's a point here.
Yes, sir. That's the connection.
I'm afraid I don't see the link between a lady of the evening and a lady from High Holborn. Surely you're not implying Mr. whatever her name is was involved?
No, other than by his surname, no. You see, Chief Inspector, Anne Chapman's maiden name was Edgerton.
Yeah, I'm afraid I must be too old to follow.
On the face of it, no connection. But think of it, sir. These victims were both found in Whitechapel and are named in order Polly Nichols and Anne E. Chapman. Those are the exact same names as in the Ripper murders, sir.
Old boy, you've been dodging too many bombs and chasing too many phantoms to believe something like that.
Yes, sir. It's quite a thing, don't you think?
Quite. I'm sure there's another explanation, Gavin, and the key to finding it is good, solid police work. We don't need you going dodgy again. Remember Grosvenor?
Yes, sir. Quite. Enter.
We don't go for flights of fancy around here, Gavin. You know I run a tight ship. I only want the facts.
I do hope you're right, Chief Inspector. It seems there are 2 more. Get these people back behind the bloody lines. Push them back if you have to. I must get through.
I've got the tube maintenance keys for this line, Inspector.
Good man. Now, you sure the man in the tunnels can keep his mouth shut?
Well, if you're popping up another fiver, I'm sure you'll do as you please.
Yes. Well, it's this way, is it?
Aye, Inspector. Just down them stairs. Mind your footing. Ledges now, and we don't want you falling on the tracks.
How frequently do the trains come by?
Oh, about every 12 minutes, give or take. Depends on the bombing.
Oh, surely the bombs don't reach down here.
Nay, sir, but the electricity gets knocked out up top, and we're all dark down here. Can't use regular trains in tunnels this long. We'd never clear the smoke.
I see. How long before the next train?
I couldn't rightly say, Inspector, but I've been keeping my eye on my watch and the line at the same time.
Talented man.
I've been doing this for a long time, Inspector.
Shh! I thought you said your man was reliable.
Well, he is. I can't speak to what happened since he called it in. Inspector, train coming.
Stay steady. If it's your man on the tracks, we may need to lend assistance. Shine your torch down on the tracks.
There, Inspector. On the tracks.
Damn fool! Take hold of my hand. Get off the track. What the deuce?
Look out, Inspector.
What the devil are you running from? Stop it!
Inspector, it's a lady.
I beg your pardon. I'm so sorry.
Hold on right there, miss. You just stand right still.
Good show, Percy. Good thinking on the pistol.
Well, you being a copper, you weren't going to have one.
Right. Now then, Miss... Oh, never mind. What are you running from?
That awful man back there. He told me to wait for the police, but I feared his intentions were less than what he said. It's quite dark and lonely down there after all, and for all I knew, he might have been the man that committed the slaughter back there.
Wait, you've seen what's back there?
Yes, Inspector. Forgive the assumption. Your companion hardly looks like London's finest.
If you mean the underground's finest, then that would be me.
All right. You know who we are. Who are you? And more to the point, what are you doing here?
I'm Lady Honoria Tipton, wife to his lordship, the 13th Earl of Cambridge, and I'm here on as much business as you, Inspector.
Oh, begging your pardon, your ladyship. I just don't tend to meet too many wives of the peerage down here in the tube.
Obviously, you need a better class of friends, Inspector. You'd be surprised who you find down here these days. I hear even Churchill's been down here with the peasantry.
Now, be that as it may, Lady Tipton, what are you doing actually here in this part of the tube?
Ah, that. London Gazette. Don't gawk. I'm not the first female reporter. I'm just the first among the gentry not to cover balls and receptions for the king.
First I've ever met in the tunnels, that's for sure.
So, I then am to presume that you've already witnessed what lies before me.
Yes, Inspector. I should say that you'll have your work cut out for you. 2 victims, I'm afraid. I've touched nothing. I just photographed a thing or two for the Gazette.
Well, why don't we all go in a bit further and see what's actually at the end of the line?
All right, Digby, up the tunnel you go. Keep him officers back till the inspector signals for you. Should I send her ladyship back with him as well?
Not just yet. Besides, she got away from him once. I suspect she could again.
Not much of a challenge, really.
All right, go on then, Digby. That's a good lad.
Lady Tipton, would you give me your word on 2 matters?
Depending on the issues, yes.
I would like you to assure me that you have not tampered with this area in any way. In addition, I wish to examine the scene without having to worry that you will disappear before I can question you further.
If you promise that at the end of this little adventure together I will walk out a free woman, then yes, Inspector, we have an accord.
But nonetheless, keep a weather eye on her, Percy.
Rather look at her than what's around that corner if it's anything like last time.
Me too. Stay here.
Not a chance. I'm coming with you.
Just as well. Come on, then. Take my notepad and record my observations. Give her your torch, Percy.
Here you go, your ladyship.
I prefer Nora, but if you insist.
Dear God.
It's still shocking the second time. So much blood.
Yes. Take this down. 2 victims. Both female and denuded. Both laying out for display, but with vastly different injuries. One appears to have had the carotid artery opened with a clean, almost surgical cut. Other than that injury and the exsanguination, the victim is untouched. The second victim has a more savage type of injuries. The throat has been almost entirely severed. There's one large tear down the abdomen, and the contents inside have been displaced. While no organs are apparent outside the body, the assailant may have taken a trophy or just begun a more complicated ritual in his killings.
Got it, Inspector. A question.
Yes.
You said killings. Does that mean there is more than just this one crime scene?
Lady Tipton. I meant these two, as it were, are killings.
Aha! I've caught you, Inspector. In the future, if you're going to lie, you'll need to have a more convincing delivery. All those pauses from a man like you, the dead giveaway.
We can discuss my discretion at another time, Lady Tipton. Would you mind a few more notes, please?
Surely, Inspector. Do proceed.
No weapon to be found immediately at the site. The amount of blood suggests that they weren't killed here, but rather close by.
Our killer certainly isn't afraid of blood. It's practically everywhere.
Yes. No matter where you shine your torch. Almost. It seems to be just block wall from here on over.
Is there a door? Where does it go?
To a vital clue. It's written in what appears to be blood. Shine your torch over here, too.
Hard to read.
That's because I don't think it's written in English. I'd better take that notebook and write this down. Maybe someone will know what it means.
Just write this down, Inspector. The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for anything.
Well. I am impressed, Lady Tipton, but are you sure that's the correct translation?
Well, yes, I am fairly certain. The letters are quite clear.
Is it Hebrew?
Perhaps even more troubling, Inspector. It's Irish Gaelic.
What the deuce? Irish Gaelic? Are you certain?
Oh, quite certain, Inspector. I grew up outside Waterford as a child. I wasn't always Lady Tipton.
I'm afraid I have to ask something even further of you then, as Lady Tipton, the wife of the 13th Earl of Cambridge.
This doesn't sound fun.
Well, I can't make you unsee what you've seen already, but I must have your discretion in this matter and your solemn assurances that this won't appear in the Gazette in any way.
Oh, come now, Inspector. The public have a right to know that there's a madman running loose in the tube. They have to be able to protect themselves. It's not just a news item, it's a matter of public safety.
Yes, Lady Tipton, it is that very thing. Do you hear that? You know those are Nazi bombs falling on innocent civilians. If you print there's a maniac running loose in the tube, tearing young women apart, where are they supposed to seek shelter? They'll have no place to hide. So as you see, it is a matter of the realm's safety that we come to this understanding.
I do take your point, Inspector, but I hold my duties as the wife of a peer and as a journalist seriously. Lord Tipton is quite progressive, and he wouldn't want this war to stifle true, free journalism. But, as it is a matter of public crisis, what if we work together and I tell the whole grisly tale once you catch our man?
I can't agree to that. I'm sorry. I must have your word on this.
And I already have yours. Remember, you said that at the end of this I would walk out of here a free woman. So unless you intend to break your word and have me arrested, this whole threatening thing is pointless.
You can't publish this. Not the murders, and especially not the writing about the Jews. Not now.
I'm not saying now, darling man. I'll tell your heroic story once it's done. Agreed? Or do I have to disturb his lordship? I think he's on the Ark Royal today with the Prince of Wales.
As long as you understand that the decision to publish your story is in the government's hands and not mine, then I guess I have no choice.
Smart man. Besides, I have money and friends. That could be useful in ways for a policeman you don't ordinarily get.
Be that as it may, I do hope that we can count on each other.
As Churchill says, we are all in this together. Is that him? He looks so grim.
Well, he's the chief inspector for the City of London. His is not a happy task.
We are not going to make him happier.
Not that I object to religion, but meeting here, who in the blazes is she?
Firstly, thank you for coming down here, Chief Inspector. I realize a synagogue in Whitechapel may not be your destination of choice on any given day, but I feel we have a theory relevant to our case.
We?
Lady Honoria Ludmilla Tipton, wife of the 13th Earl of Cambridge. Very pleased to meet you, Chief Inspector.
Highly unusual, your ladyship. Charmed, of course, despite the surroundings.
She's a cooperating documentarian, acting for the Gazette.
Now see here, Gavin. Involving the press?
I involved myself, Chief Inspector. I was present in the tube when the bodies were discovered, and the inspector here happened upon me on his way to the scene.
So she is also a potential witness, Chief Inspector. I thought her involvement prudent, if unorthodox. We have quite an unorthodox case here, and I choose that word carefully. You recall from my last report about the writing on the walls, and while in Gaelic it clearly carried an anti-Jewish message.
Yes. What of it?
I have many friends, Chief Inspector, several of whom are Jewish. I asked them if they had experienced any writings of a similar nature recently, and this particular synagogue had an instance not 2 weeks ago.
I've spoken with the rabbi, and while reticent to discuss anything, he did finally speak at length about the desecration.
Desecration?
This symbol carved into this row here.
It's a Jewish star in a circle.
In most contexts, yes, Chief Inspector, but I believe this is directly related to the writing in Gaelic we found at the second scene.
Preposterous. Any member of this synagogue might have scratched that in there while bored. You'd have us chasing boys and phantoms.
Oh, it might be out of boredom, but it wasn't innocent. Lions get bored, Chief Inspector. Cows don't. The purpose of the six-pointed star inside a circle is much older and much more sinister.
The Druids would use this symbol specifically as a way to mark people they wanted to punish. Some Irish scholars even believe it was used to call demons down on those so marked.
Poppycock. Demons?
Or a man that fancies himself a demon. Jack does remain our most famous unsolved case.
And I can tell you that the murders haven't gone unnoticed. The rumors are beginning to fly.
In this case, Chief Inspector, the rumor might be more damaging than the actual facts. A frightened populace will magnify their own fears. That's how a panic starts. We need to find the facts as quickly as possible.
Yes, of course. What do you propose?
An excavation. An exhumation, to be more precise.
Dear God. No.
It has to be done, Chief Inspector. This could be the thread that leads to an IRA unit operating in London.
Preposterous. At least let's get the story correct. One moment it's Jack the Ripper, and now some chimeric Irish brigade? I don't mean to offend your ladyship, but regardless of your peerage, you're out of your depth here, milady.
Don't be so quick to condemn the idea, Chief Inspector. If it were a secreted group, trying not to draw attention to themselves, then meeting here would be a perfect concealment. Through marks such as these, they would draw no attention to themselves.
Except for Rabbi Yeshman, we might not have. He recognized the carving for more than mere vandalism.
You may have a point. But even if I believe you two in this impossible tale, I am a chief inspector. I don't go round handing out permission to exhume corpses without some hard evidence and a suspect. After all, if not Jack the Ripper, who are we chasing here?
Well, that we're in a synagogue leads me to the name of Dr. Foltzgraff.
No.
I know you're reluctant to discuss him with Lady Tipton present. She's been informed of the regulations regarding violating the State Secrets Act.
Yes, I'll be instantly put to death. And I assume the most gruesome way imaginable. But who is Dr. Foltzgraff?
It is precisely because no one knows who he is that I'm even willing to entertain this discussion.
Intelligence suggests that the Nazis have an agent recruiting amongst the IRA, codenamed Dr. Foltzgraff.
Sounds delightfully wicked.
Perhaps. But he has been successful amongst some of the more motivated members of the Sinn Féin.
You know the old proverb, the enemy of my enemy and all.
And who do you suspect to be your man, anyway?
Well, to be honest, Chief Inspector, I haven't been able to locate a suspect as of yet.
I expected as much with your work on this case so far. I remain unconvinced. I'm sorry, Gavin.
I do feel that I should add at this point that, while I am unable to comment on this investigation, I am not constrained from commenting on the lack of progress in the investigation or the competence of the management of Scotland Yard in my columns in the newspapers.
500,000 subscriptions a day, Chief Inspector.
I agree to continue this investigation, but not yet to any exhumations. You can't just go digging about cemeteries.
Thank you, Chief Inspector, and please accept my apologies for that comment a moment ago.
If you will in turn forgive this comment, You do realize, of course, that since these investigations have not yet been acknowledged to the public, that would put you in immediate violation of the State Secrets Act. So please, your ladyship, let us not threaten each other again.
No matter what happens to me, I will remain Lady Tipton. Only the king has any other opinion on that issue.
Perhaps we should conclude this meeting now, while we still have a productive moment to conclude. Thank you, Chief Inspector, for coming down. I shall, of course, inform you immediately in the event of any additional developments.
Yes, quite. Good day, your ladyship. Gavin, remember what we discussed in my office.
We should begin considering suspects, in my opinion.
I already have. I anticipated that the matter might arise, but as we have no hard evidence, making an accusation seemed premature.
Ooh, you have an idea who's been naughty? I love a good mystery.
This is no story, Lady Tipton. This is deadly serious.
Don't keep me in suspense. Upon whom shall we cast the weather eye?
Well, someone that can rise above suspicion in a matter like this. They would need to be able to access the secreted areas in London, their authority unquestioned, their presence unremarked.
A government man.
Worse, a peer and a government man. The 5th Viscount de Vesey, John Eustace Vesey, Deputy Defence Minister.
Johnsy? If the king needs a footstool, Johnsy will be there.
I understand your reticence to even consider his lordship, but please, hear me out. The Viscount is a man of great interest to me, the greater that I looked into his background. Did you know, for example, that he's not a true blood peer?
Yes, we all know he's someone's sad cousin. But what has that to do with anything?
Whose sad cousin, Lady Tipton? That's the issue that caught my eye. I had you reviewed when you became associated with these investigations, and your history is as plain as King Lear. Every document in place, every reference checks out, even the less tasteful items. But Vesey, his relatives are all dead, some under questionable circumstance, and his family fortunes were destitute not half a decade ago. But now, here he is, a relatively new peer, and with a position only second to the minister himself. Yes, your ladyship, men like that catch my attention quite quickly. You see, our killer is quite a crafty one. It takes patience to hunt like that. Camouflage is very important. I believe that our killer is able to disguise his true intentions by simply avoiding the presumption of guilt.
Interesting to think that Johnsy might have more on the ball than I had considered. It just seems that you wouldn't need to be a mastermind to commit these kinds of crimes.
You underestimate our quarry at your peril, Lady Tipton. Consider the victims. Each was carefully chosen, either by names or connection to the Ripper murders in some other way. That requires research, and that requires time and planning.
I take your point. So, what do you suggest our next step to be?
Lord Vesey is scheduled to visit a new ration cannery, among other things, today. I had hoped we might be able to buttonhole him for a quiet word. But if I approach him as an inspector of Scotland Yard, he might catch the game too quickly.
I see your proposal, Inspector. It would be considerably easier to make your introduction on the arm of a fellow peer.
Socially speaking, he would be required to at least acknowledge your presence and speak to you. I need to see a few more people, and I can meet you in Tensley at 3.
Until 3, Inspector.
It would appear we might be late into the festivities.
Even so, we just need Johnsy to see us, and more importantly, be seen seeing us.
How do you propose that? There must be 2,000 people here. Quite a lot, actually, for a new cannery, I should think.
I see the grandstand, but I don't see that grandstanding fool yet.
And which fool would that be?
What the?
Oh dear. I didn't mean to startle you.
Oh, Johnsy, you frightened me half to death.
So sorry. I just meant to pop by before they, need me up there.
Yes, I understand you've become quite important to the war effort lately.
Only because of my sparkling wit.
Of course. Johnsy, may I present my guest, Gavin?
An honour, your lordship.
I say, you haven't finally dumped that plump fool you've got, have you? This fellow hardly seems an appropriate match.
I suppose that depends on what I am matched against.
Good show. I like a man with a sporting mind. Nothing quite like a bit of a chase The thrill of the hunt to quicken up the blood, eh?
I had just remarked recently upon your hunting prowess.
Pshaw. It's only the odd giraffe, a lion or two. Nothing Mother Nature would miss among so many. Do you hunt?
Well, in a manner of speaking, your lordship, though my quarry tends to be more difficult than any African game. I hunt men.
What? They allow that nowadays. That must be quite an expensive charter.
I'm afraid you have it the wrong way round, Johnsy. Gavin is with Scotland Yard.
Ah, I see. Well, capital. Good to have a few of you fellows around. Can't be too careful.
Your lordship, I hate to be indelicate, but might I come by your offices, and perhaps you could assist us with our inquiries?
Inquiries? My attorneys usually advise me against such things.
I didn't mean to imply anything official. It would be more of an informal chat, as I've suggested, at your conveniences and at your offices.
You are being both most persistent and accommodating simultaneously. Bravo! But I would need to know in advance the nature of your inquiry.
Johnsy, you could consider it a favor to me?
And as wonderful as it would be to have you in my service, even for that favor, I am afraid I must insist.
Your lordship, it involves the murder of several young women. I would rather not go into full detail at the time, given the venue and the general atmosphere. This war is grim enough already.
Quite right. Murder, you say? Grim stuff, that. I only hope you catch the blighters.
And I am certain your assistance would be vital, Johnsy. You are, after all, Deputy Minister, and such matters should involve you if they threaten the defense of the realm, don't you think?
Ah, that's me, you see. I am afraid I must get along. I wish you good hunting, Inspector. I only heard it on the way up here. My footman told me about the murders. Terrible news.
News? What news, your lordship?
Oh, did Nora not get there first for once? Just came from Upshur on the train. It's the reason I was late. 3 murders in Whitechapel. 3 girls, all with unspeakable atrocities, and right at the tube entrances as well. I'm surprised you hadn't heard about it, Nora.
As am I.
As I say, good hunting.
3 girls? How did he know about them?
And what was that bit about the entrances?
We had best back to Whitechapel. If there is news to be had, it is there.
Did you notice how Johnsy never remarked on your investigation? I mean, whether or not he plans to assist you.
I noted that as well. I expect his lordship may have betrayed more than he intended as the band distracted him.
Grease paint and circuses often do that to fools.
Do not make the mistake of thinking he's a fool. If he is the man we seek, the eviscerator, the organ thief, then he is no fool indeed. Come, Lady Tipton, let us find a taxi.
And it sounds like we had best hurry.
And their main power, the power of their far more numerous air force, was thrown into the battle or else concentrated upon Dunkirk and the beaches.
Keep those people back, Constable.
Well, they certainly won't keep this out of the papers. This is quite a crowd.
Well, perhaps you should stay back.
If you're worried about me contaminating the scene, I think that this mob of policemen and that crowd may have done the job for you.
I was only Never mind.
Inspector, were you thinking of my female sensibilities again? Please harness your chauvinism and lead on. I've seen the wounds of riots and factory explosions and... Oh, my dear Lord God.
What in the devil is she doing here again? My boy, if you have gained any insight in your investigation, now's the time to do something with them. This case has now literally landed on the doorstep of Scotland Yard.
It's so savage. This much blood speaks to more than rage. This is someone making a statement.
But 3 now. I'm afraid that shoots a hole or two in your Jack's back theory. This is clearly the work of a simple madman.
A madman, certainly, but not simple by any means. Yes, there are 3 victims, yet the connection to the legend remains. In fact, our fellow has amplified the message.
But there are only 5 acknowledged Ripper murdered.
Gavin, 8 does not connect to 5. Any schoolchild can do maths.
Oh, the maths are not important, the names are. These 3 victims, Mary Brown, Jane Willett, and Kelly Holcomb, they're all connected to Jack through his last victim.
Mary Jane Kelly.
Only our boy has killed 3 women named Mary, Jane, and Kelly to take his campaign of fear to new heights. And that would also explain the public display of the bodies.
Does any of this help you catch this man? I declare, Gavin, you talk and you observe and you talk. I find you are the most tiresome investigator. It is time to stop investigating and start arresting. I have the Home Secretary calling me now. He calls twice a day. He's not polite or interested in the weather. Whitehall and I expect one thing: results, and bloody quickly.
I am concluding my investigations on the first cases, sir, but this new scene may yield new clues that lead to an arrest.
Why should I believe you?
Because he is close, Chief Inspector. He is very close. We have found things out today. It has made us very close to the solution, I assure you.
And your assurances are no better than his. I'm late for an appointment with Churchill. Progress, Gavin. We've come to the thin place. Make progress, or I will get an inspector that can. That is not a threat. It is a fact now.
He has always been an inspirational leader.
A one-man light brigade. Do you think he bought it?
I truly don't care what he bought. It bought us time, so let us use it wisely. Stand here. Please note my observations.
Of course. Here's the torch.
First victim, refer to the constable's book, has been opened thoroughly with a razor or a scalpel or fine-edged knife from the navel to the neck. There's organ removal.
It seems unreal to write it down.
Perhaps. The other 2 have injuries of a similar nature. All victims appear to have been completely exsanguinated and the blood dispersed about the scene.
It seems almost as though he were throwing it around in buckets.
If he were trying to say something with this amount of blood, I have no idea what it is.
What if he were trying to not say something?
Well, then he picked an odd way to be discreet. I'm sorry, please tell me what you mean.
I was noting only a moment ago that it seemed like it was sloshed in buckets around the area.
I recall. I hope you wrote it down.
Yes, but what if our villain wasn't just splashing blood for the shock value? What if he was trying to use it to cover something up? Actually using the blood as one would use paint?
Well, with this much blood...
Does anything look out of place?
What you mean aside from the 3 corpses?
Look, silly. This is the entrance to a tube station. What might not belong here?
Oh. You're thinking that there might be something like the desecration mark.
Exactly. It seems to me that our killer chose 3 victims instead of 1 to serve as a cover for his true purpose.
It seems ordinary. The stairs, even the rails, the lights, they all appear normal.
Gavin, look out!
God's holy trousers. It's true. Murder.
Sir, this is a police matter. Please accompany this constable back beyond the line.
Why? So you can do what you always do? Nothing. This is Whitechapel, Bobby. We wants justice, we gets it done ourselves.
I understand that this murder shocks us all.
Now we've come to get some justice for her, and... Blimey. Free?
Yes, sir. Now, please.
Who's gonna swing for it? Someone has to die for this, Bobby.
Air raid. Blast. These doors are sealed from the other side. There's no shelter here.
Run, everyone. This one's closed. Try Tottenham Court. Hurry.
Should we make for Tottenham Court too?
I think we would be safe in the stairwell if it were just the 2 of us and the bomb weren't aimed directly at us.
Surely the Nazis aren't that accurate yet.
Besides, we have a moment more to look at the scene. The first victim is stylish. The others are quite ordinary.
Stylish, you say? Look for a handbag.
What?
Trust me, a stylish woman would always have a handbag to match a smart outfit.
Just a moment. Would it be the same color?
An investigator of fashion you are not. Of course it would be the same color.
Oh, forgive me. I don't carry many handbags myself.
They are ever so handy. You should try one sometime.
I think I may have found it. It's quite small.
It shouldn't need to hold much. Is there anything inside?
Let me just step up here. I found it down the stairwell. She seems to have flung it from her. Let me just shine the torch on it. If there's anything inside, I shall call out the inventory.
Right.
Bloody hell! Get down!
The cheek of the man! Does he not know who I am?
I suspect he knows exactly who we both are. It seems you may have made an enemy, Lady Tipton.
Only one. What a dull day. What do you suggest?
Can you work over to the stairwell? It offers the best shelter from the gunfire, should it resume, until we can figure out our next step.
Good idea.
Go now, Lady Tipton. The recoil may require him to re-sight the weapon. Are you hurt?
Unscathed, Inspector. I am concerned that we are now trapped in this stairwell.
I understand. Perhaps that air raid warning is our way out. He will most likely retreat to seek shelter from the bombs. That will allow us to exit once the raid is gone.
Assuming again that a bomb doesn't fall directly on us.
Exactly. I admit the plan isn't bulletproof, but given the circumstances...
Ever the droll humor in dark circumstances. I should be packing up soon. The bombers will be here any minute.
Yes. Perhaps now. I'll throw the torch. Should be clear.
He certainly is dedicated to his profession.
It's a real credit to his craft. But it does get me thinking. There is a reason our gunman out there hasn't left yet and why we are not yet dead.
Judging only by the sound, his marksmanship comes to mind.
Or that he's missing on purpose to keep us in this stairwell.
You must be joking. To what? Starve to death?
Well, he doesn't want to kill us with his gun. He's taken 5 shots already, and just from the caliber of the report, any one of those shots could have done the job. He also has position on us and could simply rush the entrance now. We're sitting here unarmed like fish in a barrel, so why?
I assume you have a theory.
Remember the blood? It was all splashed about, all about this entrance. To be specific, this stairwell. Above us, the street looks like a slaughterhouse, but this stairwell is clean and white.
If you're right, then making us stand out in relief isn't the reason for his bad aim.
No. With the fires in the street and the searchlights above, this white square in a sea of red, surrounded by black.
You could almost see it from space.
All from the nose of a bomber.
So much for a bomb not landing directly on us.
Only one way to know for sure.
Gavin, get down!
So that is the game. Whoever is out there wants Herr Hitler to kill us both.
Seems that he might be likely to succeed.
Which do you fancy? The bullet or the bomb? I think that the bullet may be the best bet for one of us. If it's a manually recycled weapon, as I suspect, then at least one of us has a chance of dodging that second shot. I believe I should try to make him miss with that first shot and hope that God is still on England's side.
We go together. It's an equal chance. Your chauvinism and charming heroism aside. Besides, he'll have to pause a split second to choose one of us at the very least.
The Earl does not know how lucky he truly is. After 3, then. 1.
2.
Good luck. 3.
Inspector, your ladyship, down here, quickly.
I like his plan better, whatever it is.
Go, go, go!
I was just sent to check the station and saw you two sheltering out there. Quick, into the tunnels.
There may not be time. We were seeking cover from a man with a rifle, but fear they have a bomber aimed directly at us.
Nazi bomb? I see, that's serious. Quick, on down the stairs.
You don't understand. The force of the explosion will bring this whole stairway down upon us.
Please just run down the stairs. We're the London Underground. Nazi bombs do not frighten us. This may be a wee bit bumpy. Cover your heads and don't touch nothing metal till I tell you. Oh, there now. Now That weren't so bad, was it? Mind you, the station will need some new doors.
Are you all right, Lady Tipton?
Bruised, breathing, and quite grateful.
As am I. Percy, why was there no explosion?
We just pumped the metal entryways full of electricity to make the bombs not explode.
How do you do that?
Oh, just like we do in the convoys. We put a lot of electricity on critical targets to remove their magnetic signature. Degaussing, it's called.
Isn't that clever?
Aye, and also a secret. So, if you didn't mind, then go spreading that around. I'll just see about opening up a way out there yet.
That was obviously our man, and I intend to make him regret it.
I agree. And I think there can be little doubt that Lord Vesey is our man. Given the impromptu nature of our departure, it can only be that Lord Vesey wanted us to be on this spot at that very minute.
Those poor girls, they were just used as bait.
Bait and to sow panic. Thank God the bomb obliterated the scene. With so many witnesses, an open crime scene like that would drive the public mad.
A shame we didn't find anything useful.
Have you forgotten the lady's purse? Perhaps it can yet yield our clue. It's a rubbing of some sort. Seems to be from some sort of stone marker. Mary C. Brown.
From a headstone, I should suspect. Look at the swastika on the top. Quite literally, a dead giveaway.
Coincidental to her own name. That cannot be mere luck. She must have known she was being targeted. This was a way to protect her or to warn others.
Does this particular grave rubbing mean anything to you? I am baffled.
I can only surmise that we were supposed to find this particular grave. In all of England, however, that may be a challenge. The swastika appears quite old and the date of her death is 1732.
Was her death on today's date?
No commentary beyond beloved wife and mother. May the Lord greet her as a friend.
That's from a Scottish grave, that is.
Well, how can you tell? You haven't even looked at it.
Oh, it's a common epitaph up north. Sort of hints at a naughty past, but lets the Christian burial take place anyway. She would have been a girl, maybe with a colourful past, maybe a bastard somewhere. She would have had to be buried in the thin place, that's for sure.
The thin place?
The graveyard, sir. But not the church graveyard so much as the public burial grounds. It's said because so much pain been buried in places like that the ground's sour.
And the boundary between the living and the dead thin. That might narrow the search.
Aye, Scotland and Yorkshire.
Or perhaps an address. Perhaps not the thin place as legend would have us pronounce it, but perhaps rather Thethin Place over near Whitehall.
Lots of fancy folk work up that way inspecting.
It's also the temporary address for the Ministry of Defence. Johnsy again. Though to be honest, he doesn't seem to be the type for triple murder.
Are you forgetting Dr. Faltzgraf? I doubt it was Lord Vesey firing at us. He would have needed to remain at the cannery. It was undoubtedly Dr. Faltzgraf, or whatever his true name is. Only he would have been able to be in place.
Then it would seem our next stop is clear.
Indeed. I am worried, however, about showing our faces in public. The good doctor, whoever he is, should think that his plan has succeeded and that we are dead.
Oh, there's no worries on that score, Inspector. This tube runs all the way to Whitehall. What with the folks coming out from the area, I doubt you'd be noticed down there. It's a wee hike through the service tunnels. Could be a fair amount of rats, bats, and other beasties.
We just dodged a Nazi sniper and a big bloody bomb. Bring on the rats, bats, and beasties.
Lead on, Percy. Let's just hope we can arrive undetected. Perhaps I can send for reinforcements.
I might be able to reach some friends of mine.
Fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
Thank you, driver. All right. We've arrived, but Whitehall's a large area. Where do you suggest we start?
We have no choice but to look for a connection between Lord Vesey and Thethin Place. It has to be there. Perhaps we could find a back way in.
My dear Inspector, I did not become the wife of the 13th Earl of Cambridge to sneak in the back door. Come on, Gavin.
Lady Tipton, in matters of police work, I've often found discretion more useful than audacity.
There's a very good chance that anyone we encounter will alert our quarry anyway, so discretion may be moot. Like hunting, sometimes you have to flush out the quarry. If his bird dogs see us coming, so much the better. Don't dawdle, do keep up.
Yes. Your ladyship.
Nora, Gavin. Nora. Her ladyship of Cambridge to see Lord Vesey immediately. It is a matter of the gravest national urgency. No, you may not inquire. Go tell his lordship I have arrived.
Yes, your ladyship.
I suppose that's one of the few benefits left in peerage. Unquestioned obedience to rank.
The trick is not overplaying it, you see.
Right this way, your ladyship.
Lead on.
Her ladyship, your lordship.
Nora, I say. What a delightful surprise to see you in Whitehall.
Johnsy, thank you for seeing us. And on the day you are to take to sea. How lovely for you.
Yes, it gives me a thrill just thinking about taking to the sea to fight the Hun at last.
Been waiting to give the Nazis a bit of payback?
Yes, yes. Hang a few scalps up, as the Americans would say. Now, Nora, what is this urgent matter?
It would seem there is a Nazi agent operating in London attempting to keep the general populace out of the tubes during air raids.
What? Preposterous. Not that we have agents in London. They're bloody everywhere as far as I can see.
This one in particular calls himself Dr. Falsgraf and is recruiting sympathetic English and Irish subjects to assist him.
Why bring this to me? You're Scotland Yard. You catch this Dr. Falseface. I have a fleet to inspect.
Can you account for your whereabouts at all times this last week? As an important man, I'm certain that your secretary keeps your appointment book quite dutifully.
Of course I can. What are you implying? Bloody hell. If it were my bloody Air Force.
We have to get to the shelter.
The stairs are this way.
Never mind all that. Come on. This way.
Behind the bookcase, of course.
They have this put in for senior officers. Can't very well plan a war if you're running out of your office every 5 minutes.
It's very snug.
Don't worry, Nora. It opens up here in a few feet. The common area is up ahead.
I didn't even know this was here.
Rather the point, old boy. Just through this door. That's it. Everyone in? Good. Let me just get the light.
Oh, God's holy trousers!
What the bloody... They're all dead. This is impossible.
So much blood. Pass me the torch.
There are parts of them everywhere. Dear God, why? Oh,
To complete my assignment. And my masterpiece, of course.
Chief Inspector?
Dr. Falsgraf, I presume.
You're both correct. And since you didn't die as you were meant to earlier, I shall use your deaths to complete my work.
You bastard!
Auntie!
Stay where you are, the pair of you. Don't mind that idiot on the floor. He'd die here or on the seafloor.
Clever to use Jack the Ripper. Nice touch, that.
I enjoyed that bit myself. I told the Nazi High Command that nothing would strike so much terror into the hearts of Englishmen as one of their old boogeymen coming back. And with your deaths, I can link the killings to Dr. Falsgraf, the Nazi saboteur working with the IRA. I shall lead the inquiry myself. Now, open that hatch. Climb down the ladder, both of you.
Why not just kill us here?
I was hoping to spare myself the exertion of dropping you all the way into the tube myself. However, all right, fine.
Stop! Why the tube? Do you mean the underground?
Yes, of course. You will both be part of the Ripper's greatest crime to date. All those girls in the subway so far, this lot in the ministry, and now you two? Though I am sorry more high-ranking officials weren't on duty today. 5 or 6 I did get won't cause much of a stir in the ranks.
You traitorous bastard!
Come along, Lady Tipton. I'll climb down first. You follow behind.
And I shall follow on your hands with my heels, so don't be slow about it. Remember, the bullets run faster than you.
Let me assist you, Lady Tipton.
As we are about to die, surely now you can call me Nora.
Nora. Handcuff the inspector. Hands behind the back, please.
Now what?
Now? Jack's back, Gavin. Don't you see it? Can you see the poetry of it all? We've come full circle, haven't we? I remember this place. I remember the first one, Polly Nichols. Imagine my surprise when she was a he. No matter. When this war's over, that type will all be shot or gassed anyway. So, we have reached the end. The isolation is sublime, and the victim, that would be you, cannot escape. Last chance to scream.
For whom?
Don't be daft. There's no escape now.
You are so right, Chief Inspector. You can't escape. Percy?
Well, if it ain't a Nazi copper.
Who in the hell are you?
I worked for the London Underground, and so do these fine patriots. You mess with the wrong group of lads in a dark place, you racist bastard.
I'm on your side. You're white, part of the new superior state.
I'm a Scotsman. You can keep your superior state. Get him, lads!
Ooh, that sound. Shouldn't we arrest him so he can face justice?
That sounds like justice to me.
Oh, I only hear the sounds of a man being hit by a train. Fancy a cup of tea, Nora?
Of course, Gavin.
That if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour.
The Battle Under Britain. Gavin was played by Scott D. Ford. Lady Tipton was played by Hannah Dupree Severance. Percy was played by Trey Piper. Johnsy was portrayed by Seth Leake. Chief Inspector was played by Ed Kegg. The Desk Sergeant played by Chuck Dickin. Written, produced, and created by Scott D. Ford. Directed by Christy Leake and Scott D. Ford. Edited by Scott D. Ford and Christy Leake. Sound engineer, Chuck Dickin. The Darklands is a work of fiction. All characters, persons, and situations are intended for entertainment purposes. Any similarity to persons living or dead is entirely accidental. The Darklands is a cooperative venture between WFWM 91.9 and Misfit Toys Industries. It is protected under U.S. and international copyright. The Darklands is a wholly owned property of Misfit Toys Industries. Any reproduction, distribution, or rebroadcast of this program, in part or whole, without the express written consent of Misfit Toys Industries and the Darklands LLC, is strictly prohibited. Please check out our website at www.thedarklandshow.com to enjoy this program again, or to view the illustrated versions of these radio dramas. This program is made possible by the support of the Toad Hall Foundation. The producers would like to sincerely thank WFWM 91.9 and Frostburg State University for their generous cooperation in the production of this program. Thank you for listening.